Welcome to the Revel Fitness Podcast. It is Wednesday, September 9th, and it's 1:33 p.m. Today's topic is strengths. I'm not sure which.
Is
strengths.
The topic is strengths.
Yeah, the topic. Yeah, because topic is predicate, subject, object. Okay, so what I mean by strengths are, what are the things that you're really good at that you contribute to the table when you're doing anything, okay? So like, just as an example for the studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have different strengths for what we contribute to everything that we do. Like, I know how to do Photoshop. You do not know how to do Photoshop.
That is correct.
I know how to do computers. You do not know how to do computers. You know how to do accounting. I do not know how to do accounting. You know how to talk to people. I'm learning how to talk to people. So the basic thing I want to talk about is, do you stick to your strengths or do you constantly try to improve your weaknesses? I'm setting up this answer because I already know what your answer is and I already know what my answer is. But just in general, let's address that misconception.
Okay. Well, I would love to take credit for having thought this through for a long time and come up with the answer I'm going to say, but I didn't. I actually read a book a long time ago, back when I was working in the corporate world, called Now Discover Your Strengths. Can't remember who it's by, and I'm really sorry.
Isn't it by, like, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's in conjunction with the Gallup poll.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was
But I
thinking.
can't remember who the author is. Sorry. Maybe look that up and post it on there.
Go on. Continue.
Anyway. So the theory of this book is that we all have certain strengths and that, or talents. And when you work on your talents, you can grow exponentially. But your weaknesses, you will likely only improve a little bit. If it's something that you just don't have the talent for, if there are such things, then working on them, you need to work on them just enough not to fail. But if you take what you're really good at and work on that, you will continue to get better and to the point of great. So one of the examples that was given in the book was back when Tiger Woods was very popular and successful in the golf world, and his strength is driving. It's the long, accurate drives every time, and chipping and putting were not his strengths. So he spent most of his time working on his drive and just enough time on the pitching and putting not to fail, and then got phenomenally good at what he did. And then the book itself has you take some tests and try to figure out what your strengths are. And I have found, now that I started thinking about that when I really play to my strengths and I work on those and in any given project, my job entails my strengths. My contribution to the project is much better than it is when I try to force myself to learn something new or to become good at something I'm not naturally good at or haven't had enough experience in to be good at yet. Because I'm not sure I'm totally convinced that we can't be good at anything we want to be good at. But I do think once you are good at something and you notice that you have that talent, doing that more and more, you just become phenomenal at it.
There's a whole bunch of different things that came to mind when you were talking about that. But the first one I want to address is I want to give some real world examples of strengths and weaknesses rather than using like a golf metaphor, because nobody here plays golf.
Yeah, that's true.
Or if you do play golf, you're doing it for fun. You're not doing it for your like your success in golf doesn't affect your life enjoyment, life satisfaction. So just as far as like actual strengths go, let's give some examples from our own life where we've focused on our own strengths and how that benefits us rather than always trying to focus on our weaknesses.
Okay. Well, I'll just start with dance. Okay. I have loved to dance since I was very young and used to turn the jukebox on in my grandpa's bar and do the twist to Chubby Checker or Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman.
I didn't know that was Roy Orbison.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
And
for some reason, I know it's not Richard Gere, but just in my head, if you ask me, I'm like, Richard Gere?
That was the movie.
That's the actor. He wasn't singing. Okay.
But in my life, whenever especially at the studio, because I am practicing dance all the time, my ability to move my body on purpose in certain ways and to really get better. My hip action 5 years ago wasn't anything like it is now. And constantly doing that has made me much, much better at it. I've tried to learn technology and computers and Photoshop and all of those things, and it's a struggle for me to learn those things. I have to try really, really hard to learn them, and I think I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to learn enough not to fail, or to at least try to do something where before I would just go, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it is obvious. My other strengths is that I'm a good coordinator of people. I am good at seeing other people's strengths and putting teams together that fit all the parts so that everything that needs to be taken care of, someone with that strength is taking care of it. I'm good at conciliating different groups of people. So that's my strength, and that's what I'm good at, or one of them.
The thing that comes to mind for me is that lots of times what will happen is that I see somebody else who's really strong at something. And I think that's the other thing. Before I get into that, let's talk about what strengths are. Okay. I think a big thing that you brought up just now is that strengths are not what you're good at, but you don't like. It's what you're good at and you like. You need both of those together, or that can never be defined as one of your strengths, right? Something I'm really good at is doing subtitles. Okay, I've done subtitles for many years now, and I can do it really fast. But I don't care. I don't care about it.
Kind of indifferent to it.
I don't like it. I'm indifferent to it. So I would never qualify that as a strength, as an asset I could provide. But it is something that I know how to do, and I'm proficient. And I think that's kind of the determinant you can use to whether you should put all your energy into that in getting it better. So if you have a weakness that needs to be addressed, by all means address that. If you don't know how to talk to somebody or talk to people in general, social skills is everybody needs that. Mm-hmm. And if that's your weakness, you need to develop that until you've got it. But if you still really hate it after you do it, that's fine. Just get proficient at it. You don't have to love it. Mm-hmm. Focus on the things that you actually want to do and make those strengths your strengths. If that makes any sense.
Well, then I might mention another strength that does come in really handy. I think it's why I went on ahead to get my law degree. One of my strengths is learning. I like to learn stuff. Maybe not technology, but other things. Whatever the topic, I like to read and learn things. In fact, when I took the test with that book, Now Discover Your Strengths, that was my number one talent. My number one strength was learning. I'm a learner. My dream job would be every day to go in and someone go, I need somebody to learn this and then teach me how to do it. Because my second strength was teacher. So I would love nothing more than someone to say, I want to learn this. Maybe it's a dance, maybe it's astronomy or whatever, and then have someone explain it to me in layman's terms so that I can get it and I can be excited about it. If I could get paid to do that every day, I would just be so happy, which is why I think that I've learned so much about nutrition. When you got sick, I needed to learn it. I'm good at learning it, and it worked really well. When I was a lawyer, that's what most lawyers do mostly. Someone will come in with a problem. You might know kind of the answer, but your job is to find out what the law really is. So you get to go research it, you get to look at all these cases, you interpret, and it's great fun. And then you get to use it in a practical sense, and that is to help your client. So that worked really well for me.
I just thought of a good example. where I could have focused on one of my strengths and that would have helped everybody. Instead, I was trying to do what I wasn't good at, and it didn't help anybody. An example that came to mind was the construction of the studio, right?
Yeah.
I hated that every second. Like, just thinking about it right now, the hate is boiling in me.
Yeah, you're kind of getting flushed a little.
Like, so what we did is when we built the initial studio, we built it ourselves with the help of my uncle, your brother. And then when we moved to the new, and a lot of other people too, when we moved to the new studio, we built that one out too, and we were teaching a full schedule of classes too. That was idiotic, but I think we talked about that before. Anyway, I hated it the whole time. Just like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't like doing it.
Didn't want to learn how to do it.
Didn't want to learn how to do it. Just so many different things. Now, if I had done it, I'd be like, you know what I can bring to the table? I cannot help you guys with this in that way. Here's what I can do. I can keep things organized. I can get food for everybody. I can make sure all the other stuff's going on. Like, if we did it now, I'd be like, I will run the studio 24 hours a day. You guys just go do that. Anything you need, you come tell me, or you call me, you tell me. Those are the type of things I like doing, right? I like organizing. I like not doing construction.
You like anything but construction. Well,
Yeah.
and I think the problem with construction for you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I observed.
No, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Is that construction, especially of an existing space, is really problem solving, because you
Yes.
think it'll work one way, and then you try that and go, oh, that didn't work. Well, we need to try something else. And you want to have a plan. You want to do that
Execute it,
plan.
yeah.
You want it written down, right angles.
No,
Go for it.
I think I really like putting things. I like knowing how things are going to go. Like, I mean, everybody likes that to a degree, but it's I'm not. It's a little bit different. What I mean is, like, so say when I'm editing a video, right? I don't know how it's going to look when it's final, but I really enjoy the straightforward process that you do to get to that point. You film it, get the audio, import everything, label the stuff, organize it, put it all in, then start putting it together. And then watching it come together. That's amazing. So much fun. And then you try different things and you sit there and think, oh, what if I do this? The difference with, like, construction, well, maybe it changes the more you do it, but it's just like throwing a bunch of nails at the wall, and then you're just like throwing, and especially the way you and your brother work is you two are the most unorganized people on the planet. It was literally just a room filled with stuff all over the floor. It's like, where's that hammer? I don't know. Let's spend 10 minutes looking for the hammer. But my point is,
I'd really like to say it wasn't that bad, but it was.
But the point is that I could have contributed my strength, which is organization.
Yeah. You could have kept us organized.
Yeah, I could have even been the tool guy. This is like tools strapped to my body and just been like walking around chatting. And then when you need a hammer, I give you the hammer.
Well, and I think one of the reasons that the studio has done as well as it's done, and why we feel like it's about to hit its stride, is because we have finally come to the conclusion that you are the organizer and I am the touchy-feely person that does something different than keeping things organized, because it really doesn't bother me for things to not be organized, because I kind of have an idea where everything is, and that's how I've always operated. I see the value in not spending 10 minutes looking for the hammer. I see that. I'm not sure I ever did before, but I see it now, and I think I'm slowly getting better at that. I don't think it will ever be my number one priority, but I will get proficient at it, as we talked before, and start knowing where things are. My house is getting a little bit more organized. Anybody who knows me well knows that organization is not my strong suit.
Some people are going to find out today.
Yeah. Or, even when I was practicing law, my secretaries kept me organized, and my office would have a lot of papers, but I kind of knew where they were, because I had to keep them in sort of an order for them to be able to find them. And the worst thing that they could ever do would be like go in and clean off my desk, because then I don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
Which is like last night I was looking for my spices and I thought they were on the kitchen table. I looked everywhere, and I had to go to you because you put them away. I couldn't find them.
Well, I don't know. I have this general. I like putting things in the proper place, but not. It's kind of like we were talking about lying and honesty. How like I don't want to be honest for moralistic reasons. I want to do them for practical reasons, just because it's easier to live life that way. And in the same way, I don't want to be organized just for the sake of organization. I want to be organized so that I can do what I want to do with less friction. So like I want to go film something. I don't want to spend 20 minutes setting up the camera and not knowing where everything is. Like I didn't have my batteries charged today and you wanted me to film that thing, and I didn't have my SD cards formatted. So it's like you're like, film. And then I'm like, well, I won't be able to film on 10 seconds notice like I usually can. And that frustrated me. I was like, I could do all this preparation and I wasn't prepared the one time I needed it. So that like makes me, that's what I like to be prepared and organized for, is for just events like that.
Yeah.
Because those are the events that really matter. Like when you've got all the time in the world to do it, then who cares, right?
Right.
But you don't know if you're going to have all the time in the world to do whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we talked about before on our health. And like you always have to be on your A game because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Like this past weekend, I was not on my A game. When I came back, fortunately, there was nothing that prevented me from resting and taking better care of myself for 24 hours, so that today I feel really good. Had we had anything going on yesterday that required any extra effort for me, I would be dead today. Not dead, but dead tired and still not feeling well. So I think had I ever gotten that, I got that concept in my mind when I was younger, that I wasn't having to be organized just to keep from getting yelled at. Or I think I associate, or I used to.
That's probably the main problem.
Yeah.
Is that you have an association of being clean with being...
Not clean, I'm clean. Organized.
I use them interchangeably. Organized, tidy.
Tidy.
You have that associated with just somebody forcing you to do it.
Yeah, forcing me to do it. And the people that I know who were like that when I was younger weren't necessarily the nicest people I knew.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, because a lot of times being to anything is a dysfunction.
Yeah, it's a
negative. And like that, I err on the side of being too organized and too tidy, but I can see it in myself when I'm like, when it's a rational thing and when it's an irrational thing. Like the classic example I use with you is that when the studio, like maybe a year and a half ago, just the studio still wasn't done. Like it's barely done now. Like you can just call it done, but there's plenty of stuff we could still do. This back room wasn't painted. And I was just like insistent. I was like, we got to get that thing painted. If we get it painted, all the other troubles will solve themselves. And it's just like, it's totally irrational. And that's when we're going really off topic. But point is that play to your strengths, because it'll help everybody. So, but the main point was, the point I was trying to make, is that I always look at other people's strengths and try to reach up to them, right? So like I'll see, what's a good example? We'll just use a hypothetical example, because this is the same type of thing. I see somebody who's good at juggling, right? And then a bunch of people are like, oh, that's so great. You're so amazing at juggling. I'm like, I should juggle. It's like, what on earth are you talking about? It's like, you juggle if you love juggling and you suddenly got inspired to juggle. But don't juggle to get the same results he's getting. Use your own strengths to get the results he's getting.
Yeah, and I think it's hard, especially when you're putting a team together to do something. First of all, you have to really pay attention to what everybody's strengths are. But being okay to say, that is not my strength. When you say, that is not my strength, but you have that strength, so I am going to rely on you to do it. And sometimes when you rely on someone else, they don't use their strength and you get burned. But more often than not, if you let someone take charge of that part of it, whatever it is. Like, say, when you wanted the back room painted, and I had a bunch of things going on, you had a bunch of things going on, and you insisted on painting it then, first of all, you made yourself sick, you were miserable the whole time, and had we really thought that through, you would have said, what can I do that you're doing? So you could go paint because you like painting, you get a lot of satisfaction out of it, but I want it painted. And that could have made that whole process better. So I think if we could just be willing to admit that other people are stronger at certain things.
Okay, so that gets to the heart of it.
That is the heart of it.
Is that everybody has strengths, but we don't acknowledge them in other people. Oh, I got it. We don't acknowledge them in other people, and we don't acknowledge our own weaknesses because we don't want to appear weak.
Yeah.
And that's like this mindset that, like, I understand it because we got this ridiculous thing called survival of the fittest, which has been, it's just totally, most people operate under the assumption that survival of the fittest is the correct way that evolution and our own lives function. This is patently untrue. And I can show you how.
Okay.
Not a single thing that you interact with every day was done completely by you. Did you make your carton of milk?
No.
Did you make the box? Did you print the label? Did you milk the cow? Did you pour the cow? Did you deliver it to your house? No, like 50 other people were involved in that. Like, and if you go with connections, it's like a million other people who were involved in that little carton of milk. But we still have it like this individualistic thing. It's like,
I earned the money and I bought it. I did it.
Yeah. And I think that's what holds us up from working well as a team.
The idea of collaboration, people give it a little bit of,
lip service.
Lip service, thank you. That's the word, exactly what I was looking for. They give it lip service, but they don't really, often enough, we don't really pull together in a collaborative effort and really go, okay, here's how we can get to the very best result possible. If I have to do all of it, first of all, I can't get that result. It's impossible for me to do it by myself. Secondly, if I have to focus on things I'm not good at or go learn something new, even though that's what I love doing, unless you need that for the project, unless there's some learning to do, that's not my strength that you should use. If we could do that, but I really do believe it's a lot about knowing yourself and being willing to acknowledge what you're good at, because we'll be falsely humble all the time, or maybe truly humble because we don't believe we can do any of the stuff we can do. And secondly, the things we can't do, it's hard to go, oh yeah, don't assign that to me. I can't do that.
I can't do it. Yeah. It's and I think it's like your resume, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the problem, is that there's a culture of you need to have a resume, you need to puff it up a little bit, blah 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 blah. Instead of just like, can we just like really say, I'm really good at this. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm really good at this. I'm okay at this, and I'm not good at this. And I kind of feel like that would work with, if you have the mindset where you want to do that, you will find the right employers who will also be down with that.
Yeah, and that's the kind of employer or group that you want to be in, whatever the group might be.
It's like that Dr. Seuss quote about the people who matter don't care and the people who don't care matter. That type of thing.
Is that Dr. Seuss?
Oh.
That's a good quote, no matter what.
So I have a personal example from that, which is that I've probably said this before on the podcast, but for our YouTube channel, the Adventure Archives YouTube channel, my cousin Andrew is really good at the outdoor stuff. And when we first started the channel, I was like, man, I need to learn more outdoor stuff, and I need to do this and I need to do that. And I was like, no. My skills, strengths, and interest is in the cameras and the behind the scenes stuff. So it's like, no, I'm going to put all of my effort into doing that and the music, which is also one of my interests, and make that as best as I can, because that's what I can contribute. And like Thomas, he's really good at like looking at the analytics. He likes planning. He likes emailing people and cold calling people. Literally the antithesis of what I like doing. And we let him do that. And it's like a beautiful thing because we let him take care of that, we take care of this, and it's a really synergistic thing. But whenever I get into the mindset of like, oh no, I need to be involved in all facets of production, this is like, I'm not letting other people control this. I'm like, okay, you're cutting off your own nose here to spite your face or whatever.
Well, and I think that's the third component, is that it's a trust thing.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah. And when you feel like you have to control everything, then that makes it hard for you to allow someone else to use their strengths. I remember when I used to work in the corporate world, and I remember for many years, I asked for a particular kind of support person, a construction guy that was dedicated to my group. I was like, okay, office has got a construction guy, got lots of construction guys that are experts in that. Industrial has the same thing, but retail does not have a construction. I begged for that. And finally someone said, but you never really show that you need that. You always make sure everything gets done, so nothing falls through the cracks, so we don't think you need one. It was actually an outside party that came in and said that. And at first I thought, oh, that's a great compliment that, I've managed to make everything work without this. But what it really showed me was I wasn't trusting first of all, I wasn't trusting my team. I was trying to control everything myself, and I wasn't trusting the company to give me what I needed, so I just did it without. Even though it made my life really difficult, I worked way more hours. I put a lot more pressure on my team than they should have had. Had we had someone all along, then we'd have been much better off. Or we'd have found out that it was never going to get easy and stopped thinking it's going to get easy if we had our own person. So sometimes it's just really... It's a letting go process, kind of what we were trying to talk about in our last podcast. But so much of it is letting go and thinking, okay, the world's not going to end if I don't control every bit of this. And if I really let everyone focus on their strengths and put all that together, then it could be something magnificent.
You know where I think this is learned from? It's school. And I don't mean to throw school under the bus, but I'm going to throw school under the bus yet again. It's just that
you do it every podcast.
I can't tell you how many times.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I have been burned by a partner in school projects. So many times. It's like it's almost 100% of the time. The only times where I haven't been burned is where we're working in a group technically, but we're still doing our own individual work. And I think when you have those experiences enough time, you start thinking that's how it always is. But you don't realize that, especially when you're in an adult world and people are getting paid and they're there because they want to be there, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Because I remember my cat dissection, just sitting there dissecting the cat, and then my partner every time would walk away. And I'd just be like, okay, great. I'll just do all the work then. Because, my grade is still on the line. And if one person... See, if I did it now, I would probably have a little more humor about it. I'd be like, well, I don't really care about this grade anyway, so I'm going to go join him. I was like, we'll both just sink. I don't mind. Now that's spiting your own face with your nose or whatever.
But it's a good... maybe school is set up to give you that lesson in the first place, which is when that kind of thing happens, you don't have to let it happen. You can try to get that person. There can be conversations, but generally, especially in school, if your partner's not doing it, it's not somebody you know well, you can't say anything to them, or at least you don't feel like you can.
Yeah.
You just let it go, and I'll just do the work myself. So I don't
know how I would address that now. Because I know in school I would be incapable. I wouldn't even know what to say. I have no experience like that. Now though, I feel like I'm getting better at being. Because did we talk about confrontation?
Not really.
Oh. Well, no, we kind of did in the sense that being honest with people.
Oh, we talked about conflict. So
conflict. Okay, yeah, conflict. I think now I kind of have a better idea of what to do about it, which is just you got to have a straight up conversation with that guy. Let's just be like, look, I know that you're having fun, but I don't want to feel like I'm just doing all the work here.
Yeah, I'm doing your work.
Yeah, and I'm doing your work. I don't know. I don't know what I would say exactly, but the issue came up before, and I talked about it earlier, but I've talked about it before where I had to talk to the person I was working with and say, hey, you're not contributing. Is there a reason why you're not contributing? The conclusion I came to that is that he's not going to be contributing, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least you know, and that is, so then you can quit moaning and groaning about it.
Exactly, yeah.
And which is a topic for another day, maybe a conflict part 2, but I find that, in fact, had a little discussion about it over the weekend about complaining about the same thing over and over again, but then saying there's nothing you can do about it. If that's the case, then at some point you got to stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Because if you really can't do it, all you're doing is ruminating and spending your energy, your emotion on something that you absolutely can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And taking away what you could be doing something fun instead.
Yeah. Well, the funny part is nothing has changed about this guy's behavior. Nothing's changed. But since I've talked to him, I've never mentioned it. Yeah. Have I mentioned it a single time?
No, it's gone. You've resolved the issue from you because you're going to go, you know what the facts are now. So then you just make a decision. Can I keep working with this person with him not contributing, or do I need to not work with this person because he's not contributing, and it looks like you've made the decision to stay with it and it's not bothering you anymore?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all anymore. I'm just like, I guess that's what it is. Okay,
yeah.
Cool, no problem.
And so once, but if you just let it fester and it's smoldering underneath there, to start a blazing flame that'll burn the whole house down. You just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did today about the complaining, about not even the thing that person was complaining about, but I just finally went, okay, it's getting old. We have the same conversation every time. So either figure out a way to do something about it or stop talking to me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand I understand the complainer side because I've been the complainer so many times. In fact, we should have a whole episode on complaining. But in fact, we should have a whole episode where we just complain.
I can't do it.
Don't worry, I can do it.
I'll be trying to talk you out of complaining the whole time.
Where was I going with this? I understand the complainer because it's just like, you want to stop. You want to just get over it. Oh, here's the thing. You want to get over it without having actually done anything.
Yeah, you don't want to do the work to get over it.
Yeah, you don't want to have that confrontation. You just want to be over with it. But it doesn't work like that. The only way to get over it is to do the confrontation.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I have to disagree with you there. But you have to do some work on your...
Well, it's situational, but in all the examples I'm thinking of...
sometimes you have to stop and look about the assumptions you're making about the situation and is what you're thinking really true.
Yeah.
And if you might have been able to get over your situation by really analyzing, okay, if that person isn't contributing and I know they're never going to contribute, do I care anymore? Am I going to make the decision to stop working with them? And you might have been able to get to that conclusion without talking to them. Maybe, but I think for you, I think it had festered enough. It probably had to be. For me, well, first of all, complaining just puts me in a bad mood.
Right.
When I do
everybody in a bad mood.
Yeah. When I do it occasionally,
it's like scratching a mosquito bite. It feels good, but it's gonna just itch worse and worse.
Yeah, which I've been doing since we sat down.
Yeah, I've got one down here. When we started, there was a mosquito buzzing in front of my face. It's raining too.
When I do it, I catch myself doing it, and almost always it's because the other person has been complaining so much that I want to go, okay, your life is not that bad.
Yeah.
There are other people, I have problems too.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it comes out that I've complained, I'm like, okay, that didn't help me, didn't help the situation, doesn't change what I complained about, and I was fine with what I complained about 5 minutes ago. Yeah. And I think I've been like that for a very long. That was one of the first negative things I got over was complaining, because my grandma used to have the Serenity Prayer on some glass plate in her house. And I remember reading that when I was really young, when I first started to read and not understanding it all, and can remember the day that it made some sense.
Really?
Yeah, I remember the day because my sister had been bugging me about something, and and I knew she wasn't ever going to quit, and she was always going to be my older sister. And I read that prayer, and I went, oh, this might be one of those things I can't change. Now I understand what this thing means.
Oh, man. Oh, my mind's drawing a total blank. I didn't know. I had some follow-up thoughts to all this, but...
I think you're worried about the rain getting on your computer.
No, I'm not,
no?
actually.
Okay, good.
I just wanted to see how long we've been recording. Well, it says 35 minutes. We can go for another 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Why don't we do quick, just for the fun of it, let's ask each other questions.
Okay.
And then we can take it from there.
About this topic?
No, just
okay.
random questions. So this
okay.
is Q&A.
You must have one in mind already.
I didn't. I just thought of one, though.
Okay.
What is something you want to learn right now? It can be a skill. It can be an instrument, whatever.
Well, now my mind is drawing a complete blank because everything that I can think of is stuff that I'm already... It's not something new, but I want to learn to I want to learn to all there is to know about nutritional health, because I really want to counsel people in that even more than I do now. I want to be able, when someone says, what happens if you get too much riboflavin? Like right now, I have no idea. I know that the egg whites turn yellow if they feed the chickens too much riboflavin, but I don't know what it does to us. I don't. So I really want to have that store of knowledge. So that's something I want to learn.
Okay.
How about you?
Something I want to learn. Yeah, right now, I don't have too many actual skills or knowledge or that type of thing I want to learn. It's when all the things I want to learn right now are ways of interacting, ways of behaving. So I want to be and practice the huge one right now is being honest. Just being honest with everybody and finding a way to be able to be as honest as possible in all situations. Because, there's certain situations where it's hard to be honest, right? It's just all the obvious ones. Some of them are kind of petty and easy. And I just the knowledge that I could just be honest about it has given me that skill. And I know I can do it. The party one, classic example I love to use. You want to go to a party? Nope, don't want to go. I feel tired. That's easy now, right? But a harder one, I can't think of a good example. But there's so many, right? There's so many.
Well, and there's so many commonly accepted dishonesties.
Yeah. No, I don't.
You don't
even
use those
in
anymore.
my conversations with people, I don't want to talk about things I don't like talking about just because I feel like we're trying to be safe. I would much rather just immediately turn the person off with whatever I'm talking, or have them immediately turn me off with whatever they're talking about, than just talk about the weather.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Because I feel like that type of... what the big thing, though, is emotional honesty, right? Being honest with people is when somebody's doing you wrong, and you confront them about it instead of just being like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's no, it is a big deal. I don't know if I should feel this way or not, but I'm just going to give you the truth about it so that we can figure it out, Which is weird because I looked up some books on honesty. I was like, I wonder if there's some books on honesty, right? I found 2 books. One of them is by this apparent psychopath who he's just talking about you need to be honest 100% of the time with everybody always. And then I listened to this story about a woman who went to one of his retreats, and he was just as soon as she gave him some pushback, he was just yelling at her and cussing at her. And I was like, okay, well, I don't agree with that, because being honest for me is not expressing hate towards somebody. If somebody disagrees with me, I don't have to be you effing this and you effing that.
No.
I could just be oh, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the hardest thing is to maintain your composure, maintain your friendship, maintain your relationship, whatever it is, and still say, I disagree with you. Because ultimately we don't nobody knows whether who's right or who's wrong.
Yeah, and the truth is always changing.
Yeah.
I mean,
and some instances, that old saying that my grandma and my mother and my grandpa and all my elders used when I was growing up is, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Sometimes you don't have to speak, and that is not dishonest not to speak.
Yeah.
Sometimes when someone is espousing an opinion, you don't have to make your opinion
Yeah, they're not
known.
asking for your opinion sometimes.
And they're not asking for you to agree with them either. They're just stating their opinion.
Yeah.
And you can take that information and go, that's interesting that you feel that way.
It's like, okay, now I know.
Yeah.
I actually texted my brother. I said, I'm thinking about being honest to everybody all the time. What do you think of this? And he says, sounds like a good idea. Just be careful about confusing being honest with telling people everything. So you don't need to tell everybody.
Divulging too much, yeah.
I think that might be the word he used. But, yeah, it's just that's what I want to do. I want to be honest with people. And I haven't been challenged really hard yet. I don't want to be challenged really hard just quite yet. So just letting you know that, universe. I'm okay with little challenges right now, but let's work up to the big ones a little bit later. But so far, it's going well. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So in our last podcast, we said we're going to draw a line in the sand, and you either have to believe that life is happening randomly and that you have no control over it all and life just happens to you, or you set up a belief system that means you're creating your reality as you go. Have you found your side of the line yet?
Yes.
All right.
I am all in on the belief side. And here's why. Because, like you said, either way you're making a choice to believe something, one way or the other. And this coincides very well with my stopping caring what other people think about what I'm doing. And a big thing that stopped me before is people are like, oh, you people. I was like, I can't believe you think that's the way life works. And I don't want to be seen as one of those people by those other people who say that. But now I'm like, you see me as whoever you want. But I am going to believe that I can believe my way into doing anything. Okay? If I believe it and I want it, I have no other choice. There's no other sane choice to do that or give up. I mean, it's either believe in it and do it, or try to do it, that is. I mean, you will most likely do it too. Or don't believe it and give up.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only rational, sane choice.
And now that you've given up the idea that that other people's judgments about you make a difference, that you don't have to give them progress reports on whether it's working or not.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's totally irrelevant what they think. In fact, it's probably better that you don't think about what they think, because it keeps you from creating what you want in your life and noticing when it happens. You've been very good at pointing out to me recently about all of the technological things that I'm doing that I didn't even think of as being part of the technological age. I'm not even sure I'm saying the right stuff, so clearly I haven't gotten that far. But I wear a Fitbit now. I learned how to sync it.
I didn't teach you how to use the app at all.
No,
Good job.
I figured out most of it, and I even tried to change my email address last night and went to the right places, but you can't do it on the phone. You have to go somewhere else.
You did a good job.
Yeah. So once you start deciding that, once you get a belief system, even in that movie Serenity, when the shepherd says to Mal,
"Oh yeah,
I don't care what you believe, just believe something, and then go do that, whatever that is." So everybody has a belief system about what life is, whether they've thought about it or not. They have a belief system, and they are creating that, whether they believe there or not. At least that's how I believe, because I think whatever you believe, that's what you're going to find.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I think I got an example of that, actually. As I was saying to somebody yesterday, I was saying, I think that there's a move towards not using disposable things anymore and going back to just having, good stuff and then taking care of that, repairing it, and not having a whole bunch of extra stuff. And I was like, but I might just be seeing that because that's what I'm doing. And she goes, yep. because other people, I think, still very much use disposable stuff and are very much about that.
But your reality, the exposure, I mean, you can't experience the whole world at once.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
So the reality that you get to experience on a daily basis is getting to be more like that.
That's a good point, because like, unless we know the full statistics, really the only reality you see is the most important one. So like she says, no, I think there's still lots of disposable stuff. Yeah, maybe, but I don't see that. So that technically isn't true for me. That's a weird concept to think about.
Yeah.
But like, we don't know. I think we've all decided, like especially public opinion, or not public opinion, the general consensus, we think that should be taken as fact because it's general consensus.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case, and lots of times
and
isn't the case.
It doesn't have to be your experience. Let's say let's talk, for instance, about my optimism.
Right.
Okay. You had a really good word for it today, but I can't remember what it was. But
indomitable.
Indomitable.
Yeah, I said it's literally indomitable.
Yeah.
It cannot be defeated.
You can't. Yeah, you cannot defeat my optimism, and my ability to find the good in every situation and every person. Okay. I may not be able to change the whole world, but I have definitely changed my environment, because people who are negative don't find it fun to talk to me because I don't agree with them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feed that for them. So if they have a need for their negativity to be fed and someone to be on their side and agree with them that some other person's an asshole, that's not going to come from me. In fact, I'm going to do my best to point out either there's a reason why somebody behaves that badly, so maybe you ought to cut them a break, or I see this good side in them, so maybe you ought to cut them a break, or maybe you see that in yourself, so you ought to cut them. You know, many reasons, but I'm not gonna feed it. So my reality is that most people that I'm around on a regular basis are pretty positive people that want to create a positive life for themselves. And if everybody did that, then yes, the whole world would be that way.
I think it all comes back to senior skip day, man. Everybody needs to just have a little faith that the other person's going to do the right thing and skip class. Or when somebody doesn't do the right thing, man, you just got to let it go. Yeah, and you got to do your thing.
You got to do your thing, and your thing is to let it go.
Yeah. Okay, well, that does it for today's episode. You got to go teach.
I do.
And I got to go eat.
All right.
We'll see you next time. If you guys have questions, let us know, because we'll take some of your questions.
Cool.
Okay, sounds good. See you later.